welcome back. Welcome back to our virtual participants, and welcome back to our wonderful crowd here in the Discovery Center of the Allen County Public Library's Genealogy Center. There's a lot of centers there, right? Thank you so much again for participating with us today. For the next 70 minutes, I'm really honored to have a colleague in our library at home services here at the Allen County Public Library start this 70 minutes talking to you about the great services that they provide to our community. Jonathan Frincke is the supervisor of the library at home services. And if you're not in this community, and we know there are people from Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Canada on this virtual program, I hope that you get inspiration from what Jonathan and his team are doing in this community and begin to talk about, think about what you can be doing in your community. And I'm sure that Jonathan and his team would be happy to provide you with any advice and counsel and answer any questions you might have about how to make this service as dynamic and wonderful as it is in this community. So without further ado, my colleague Jonathan, and he's going to talk about the library at home service, and I'll follow him talking about the genealogy services. Thanks, Jonathan.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Kurt. That's really generous. I'm very happy to be here on behalf of Library at Home. This is a great space to be in, and I want to start by saying to the people in the room here, elder care professionals, other caregivers, thank you all for what you do every day. We appreciate you. We have a lot to learn from you. We want to partner with you throughout this whole process going forward with Library at Home. Just as we've done in the past, and let's keep talking. I am John Frincke, Jonathan. You can call me John, supervisor for Library at Home. Fair warning up front, I'll be showing a lot of photos of people today. Library at Home loves a good slideshow, and we know that this work is personal. And as a bonus, one or two of you might even appear on screen. I don't think anyone in this room, but possibly online. So watch out for that, everybody. Also, I am not much of a public speaker, and I'm not a doctor. So I thought I'd better start off with a joke, and maybe one that appeals to librarians as well as scientists. And this is a dad joke. It comes from one of our regular homebound patrons named Jack. That's Jack up on the screen. Here we go. I asked the librarian if they had the new book about Schrodinger's cat and Pavlov's dog going on adventures. She said it rings a bell, but she doesn't know if it's there or not. That has always worked at Jack's house as an icebreaker, so I hope it does here too. And for those of you who don't know Library at Home, we are a service provided by the Allen County Public Library. We're based here at Maine. We have offices and a curated collection just 3 floors down from us. We'd love to give you all a tour sometime if you're able, but what you'll probably find is a nice room and 3 empty desks because we are often not there. We are out in the community with you. Library at Home exists to advance the library's mission of enriching the community through lifelong learning and discovery. And that word lifelong, thank goodness for us, was very intentional because it's great job security. What we do day to day is we deliver material and the library experience to folks who cannot visit a physical branch. Reasons for needing our service can vary, and they include disability, injury, persistent lack of transportation. But what we find is that the vast majority of our Library at Home patrons are 65 and older. We recognize that lifelong learning and discovery is essential to thriving as we age. I think we heard that already from Dr. Josh, and I'm sure we'll hear a lot more of it in the next sessions. We know that you all recognize this as well. The library has always done a number of things consistently over the years to meet Allen County residents where they are, whether they're homebound, in assisted living, or other senior communities, either temporarily or permanently, in a healthcare, memory care, rehab, or recovery facility, and even in some low-income housing where transportation is an issue. So first, here's a quick rundown of our services, which we generally split into two categories, although there's quite a bit of overlap. First is service for individuals. We offer direct delivery of any kind of library material available to an adult patron. Requests for this type of service still most frequently come from word of mouth or referrals from other ACPL branches or departments. People find out about Library at Home through other people, and that's what we rely on. Those potential patrons can apply directly online. They can call, text, email, or fill out an application, a paper application as well. We will sign them up for a library card and deliver it if needed. We work with our Library at Home patrons to find a regular day, time, and team member that fits into their schedule, as well as our regular monthly route. We determine our patrons' reading or materials interests and how they would like their material selected. And honestly, this is the most fun part for us, probably. I like to say our patrons put their literary lives in our hands. And that's a responsibility that we do not take lightly. Then we visit every month. We bring our patrons enough material to last until the next visit. The level of engagement with our patrons is always up to them. We may stop and chat for a few minutes, or we might do a contact-free drop-off and pickup. That is all depending on what they would like. So the next type of service is for facilities. So that's familiar to some of you in the room here. We partner with many organizations that serve seniors, the homebound, those living with disabilities. We visit retirement, independent, and assisted living facilities, nursing, memory care, and rehabilitation centers, adult day centers, and senior and low-income housing residences, all with the goal of bringing the library to our people who want it wherever they are. When we visit facilities, we will do direct delivery to residents there, and that's much like the first type of service. Our patrons will sometimes, though, communicate through their activities or social engagement or enrichment directors. We do rotating collections of books. I'm going to go through, we have Judy and Ed here, and we'll get to our rotating collection. Once every month, we can deliver a new collection of books to your community. So titles here can include a variety of books for your residents specifically to sign out. They can include special requests, enrichment material, including activity books and kits for your staff, and book club sets. And with these rotating collections, all material is checked out on a facility library card, which is managed by Library at Home. We try to make it easy for you. We know you have a lot on your plates. The next type of service is the pop-up library, and this is what really resembles most that experience of going to the library for residents. Every month, Library at Home team member can bring a book cart stocked with new and popular titles in regular and large print for residents and clients to browse and borrow. You can expect a staffed service for about an hour at a gathering place that you choose. Patrons can check out using their own library cards. They can get signed up for a card, place special requests, and they can ask any question about library services, including getting tech help for their digital apps. Lastly, we do programs. Library at Home loves the opportunity to come out to your community and provide a staffed hour-long enrichment program for your residents or clients at a gathering place of your choice. Popular program topics can include travelogues, local history, reminiscence, and trivia. Increasingly, we are incorporating live music into our programs, which is very exciting for us. And we believe this puts us in line with much of the research around brain health and well-being. So a very large part of what we do is to be there for you and your communities, and we want to maintain those close partnerships. Um, we know that you are the ones with our patrons day to day, and we're listening to what you have to say about the needs of your residents, your family members, and your clients, and how those needs might be changing. And I do have some numbers just to kind of demonstrate how we're growing. The first is the number of patrons that we impact every month. And that includes individual delivery, pop-up library patrons, and attendees at our programs. You can see how those numbers have gone from 215 in 2019 to 400 in 2022. And today in 2025, we touched the lives of an average of 560 people each month. Communities served. So this includes all the types of communities that I mentioned earlier. In 2019, we were visiting 37 of those communities. In 2022, that number was 48. And today we're up to 60 different communities and facilities in Allen County. And lastly, this shows some growth between just 2022 and 2025 in our enrichment programs and the pop-up libraries. So programs, 13 is the number of programs we were doing in 2022, and we're up to 17 today. And pop-up libraries in 2022, we were at 11, and now we are up to 19. And we do have a few other visuals that we like to turn to when we're explaining what we do and how we're growing. So first, this is our map of Allen County. It's a little hard to see, but those dots, the big dots represent facilities. The smaller dots are individuals that we serve and partner with. So as participation in the program grows, we just keep on adding dots. You might recognize one of those dots as belonging to you if you can see that closely, if your eyesight is that good. One or more members of our team make a visit to each of those dots at least once a month. So that is one way that we talk about growth. The next one, and maybe this is a mindset, or maybe my mindset here is a product of being on the road. Maybe it's a product of reading too many stories in the form of novels. I don't know. But I do also like to think of our work with Library at Home as participation in an ongoing journey. As with any story or journey, there needs to be a beginning. And we won't be going all the way back to Mesopotamia, but there is a rich tradition of book delivery and library outreach in this country, from deposit collections of books. I think this is from the 1920s. Magazines and newspapers in rural areas, to WPA-sponsored pack horse librarians who crossed rivers and mountains in Appalachia during the Great Depression. If you haven't learned about the pack horse librarians, do some research. It's pretty incredible. Of course, we have books on them as well. And then to bookmobiles of all types. This one you might be able to tell is sitting in front of Northside High School. And that's on an International Harvester chassis. I think that holds about 1,000 books. And here's our more modern bookmobile. This is similar to the book bikes that we have here at the library. And so far, we don't have a Biblio burro, no donkeys here, even in the US, but who knows, maybe someday that will change. While we don't allow library patrons onto the vehicles, we do often feel that they're right there riding along with us. Possibly more than any other area of public librarianship, Library at Home is able to form close relationships and long-lasting relationships with our patrons. They're the first thing on our mind when we walk in the morning. They're the last thing on our mind as we're leaving. And in between, they're what we talk about with colleagues, and they're the reason that we're out on the road. So this takes us to another visual, and this one is an important one to me. It covers my time here with Library at Home starting in 2018, and I believe it really shows how we're evolving to meet our patrons' needs. So this, it shows myself and Peg Hines. This was our delivery vehicle in 2018 when what was then called the Outreach Services Department hired me as their second full-time department employee. So it was the first time the department had two full-time employees. Now, if someone pulled up to your house or to your facility in that van, would you know what the heck I was doing there? Probably not. Could be an Amazon driver, as many of them looked then. A plumber, it could be a burglar, it could be anybody. Basically, we were anonymous. We were flying under the radar, and probably for some good reasons, related to the resources we had available, including staffing at that time. So we wrapped that van in 2022 with this design, and pretty clearly you can tell the focus was on books, and then everyone could tell what we had inside that van. There's another shot. And listen, librarians, we just love books, okay? We might be a little bit biased. I personally love to talk about books and authors with patrons, coworkers, and family and friends. Whenever someone shows some interest, say in the book cart when we're going into a facility, if they ask a question about a type of delivery we're making, they approach us at a table at the Senior Information Fair or the Disabilities Expo. A lot of times what I will lead with, the question that I'll ask is, are you a reader? And we all know reading, of course, is vital for cognitive health. Beyond that, it's just a joy for practice, and we will never stop promoting and engaging with it, even as we're seeing a continued reduction in time spent on reading for pleasure nationwide. So answers to that question, are you a reader, really run the spectrum. But now, more often than I ever expected, we're hearing things like, I could never live without books. I used to go to the library each Saturday and check out a stack of books. It was like Christmas every week. My parents took me to the Tecumseh branch starting when I was 5 years old. I need to hold them in my hand. I even love the smell of old books. Until last year, I had an entire library in my home, but I had to downsize when I came here to the facility. For those people who are our people, the ability to read and learn and discover through books might be the most necessary and vital thing that they can think of. And some of you still think of us as we were, and we still are, in that blue van with the books on the side. But we are also more. And that's one thing that we hope you'll take away from this short presentation about the Library at Home service, because with more and more regularity, we are also hearing things like, I was a reader, but I haven't been able to read for years because my eyesight is going. Hardcover books are too heavy. I can't hold them for long anymore. Mostly what I do all day is read and work puzzles, and puzzles are expensive. I don't read, but I would always check out the newest movies at the library. Or mom's memory is going, so she has a hard time following along. So before we purchased our newest vehicle, we needed to engage in a lot of discussion, both as a small team, as professionals nationally, and as partners in our communities with you. Given everything we'd been hearing and learning, we wanted to know how we could best engage and partner with you, and how we could share the best methods of engagement with you and with our elderly and disabled populations. There was one other driver behind a lot of the thinking at this time, and you might be able to guess what it was, especially if I tell you the year that we were thinking about. It was kind of a big deal. So we adapted in many ways. Well, COVID restrictions were in place, especially. Some of those adaptations stuck. Some led to different ways of looking ahead for library at home. Just a couple of things we did here during the pandemic, even when other parks were shut down. What we saw most of all during this time, of course, was the need for people to connect. And that's what we thought our role was. This is my youngest son, of course. Back during that time, he liked to pose for any photo he could, but I only put him in one today. So we purchased our second dedicated vehicle for Library at Home this year, in part thanks to a generous grant from the AWS Foundation. Oh, this is not our wrap design. This is Judy. This is not our wrap design. This is Sharon. This is our wrap design. I think everyone here will notice that we don't have just books. Instead of just books, we are now focused on the people who use the service. People who've never really ever fallen into a single category or a stereotype. Now it's real evident. And we're also showing the many different ways that are available to our patrons to engage with the library. Things that we're able to loan our patrons, from musical instruments to games, crafts, and technology. Puzzles might be in there somewhere. So what have we added? What have we done new in the past few years that could make a difference for your residents, for your family members, for your clients? We like to think that we've done a whole lot. We'll go through a few. This is a book club set. We've always made multiple copies of a book available for our book clubs. We would bring them in throughout the system. But now we have dedicated sets of book club books just for our patrons. That means it's easier to both choose a title that is maybe discussion worthy and to know that you will have enough copies to go around once you select that. We currently have 25 titles available for checkout. I won't go deep into the benefits of book club membership, but know that they are there and they're important. And these days, we're seeing lots and lots of different types of book clubs. So even if you're not interested in the idea of a traditional book club, you can probably find one that's going to work for you and for the people that you're with. Need a little help? You can see our website. You can reach out directly. We have discussion questions. And yes, there are books about starting a book club. CD players. You guys all know what a CD player looks like. So this is a picture of my friend Boozy, who belongs to one of our homebound patrons. So I have a lot of pictures of dogs and cats that belong to our patrons. This is the only one that you'll see. So CD players, many people with vision issues are moving towards audiobooks these days, but they may still be unsure about them. They might even ask, as we were hearing a lot, really even currently, is this really even reading? Yes, it is. They might have concerns like, what if I hate the narrators? Or I know they read too fast for me, or they read too slowly for me. I don't have a way to listen. So that's where we come in. We will loan our Library at Home patrons CD players so they can try this wonderful medium out for themselves. And guys, it really is wonderful. How many of you listen to audiobooks now? Good. How many of you still read words, with your eyes? It's good too. Fortunately, I can recommend both of these, including audiobooks, because I do love to listen. I listen in the van while I'm making deliveries. It is a different experience, but I like to explain to people that different experience can be a strength. So why not give it a whirl? And with us, it's easy to do. Even as libraries in general are phasing out those physical books on CD, Library at Home is building up our own collection. So we will always have them for patrons who want. Magnifiers. Have you seen how many different types of magnifiers there are out there? Bars, sheets, gooseneck attachments, goggles, spheres, video capture screens that can cost thousands of dollars. The list goes on. It's a huge understatement to say that finding the magnifier that's right for you is tough. And of course, it could end up being quite time consuming and expensive. We have been busy trying out various devices. So far, we've landed on two that we are offering for loan. This sheet that you see here, and also a small bar magnifier. Our patrons can feel free to take these for a test run if they want. And for a lot of our patrons, there's maybe one book. Maybe it's a book that's right in the middle of a series that they have been reading, and that book does not come in large print. Either it hasn't been published in large print, or the library no longer has a copy. And now maybe they can finally read it. Magnifiers to the rescue. So our most recent acquisition has been this book stand and holder. We have heard some good things from our patrons who might lack the strength or the stamina to hold a book open for long. Some of these new books, especially in large print and hardcover, they are heavy, even for me. And yeah, we'll bring you seeds too. So we are already seeing the shift in our service being reflected in the feedback we get. I've got some representative samples of what we've been hearing from our partners and our patrons. Sandy Kay, who is an assisted living resident at Story Point, Fort Wayne West, says the Library at Home program is great. It gives us a chance to feel like we're going to the library. They look up books for us. They say books for us. I love it. Shirley Hively, a resident at the townhouse. By the way, these are not the people that I'm quoting. Shirley Hively, a resident at the townhouse, says, Melinda, I think you're watching. Here you are. The Library at Home no, I'm sorry. If it wasn't for ACPL Home Library Service, I would not have access to books. I call with my request for audiobook on CD discs. They are delivered and picked up at my residence. I am grateful for this service. Virginia Chapman at the townhouse says, ACPL provides many services to the townhouse retirement community. Our book club is especially grateful that they send multiple copies of our selected book each month, in both regular and large print, as well as a CD of the book when available. As a result, through our discussions and sharing, I have been introduced to new books and authors I might otherwise have overlooked. And from our partners in activities and enrichment, we hear this. The Allen County Public Library is a wonderful program for our seniors and our community, bringing them the newest titles and providing them with great monthly presentations. The library is a great resource for our seniors that brings them books, movies, audiobooks, and even puzzles to the front of their door. Our seniors greatly look forward to the visits. That was Susanna Diaz. She's the activities director at Lutheran Life Villages on South Anthony. And lastly, from Jennifer P., who's the Life Enrichment Director at Story Point, Fort Wayne West. The Library at Home program brings the joy of reading, connection, and lifelong learning directly to our residents, keeping their minds stimulated and nurtured. It's a wonderful program that keeps the library accessible. So while we love making these in-person visits, some of the folks who would have been Library at Home patrons 10 or 15 years ago are now downloading digital ebooks, audiobooks, magazines, music, and movies on their own. Again, possibly a byproduct of the pandemic, more and more people in general, including our seniors, are using their tablet or phone. It's convenient, it's free, it can be easy once you know how to do it. And this is where we see our role right now being, is introducing our folks to these services. Even if it means fewer visits for us, we want our patrons to get the material they want in the way that's best for them. So as libraries move towards book budgets that are closer to and sometimes even beyond a 50-50 split between print and digital titles. We want to be building that knowledge base for our patrons. I mentioned earlier that physical audiobooks on CD in some places are being phased out. We at Library at Home are doing our best to keep that option open, but we also acknowledge that at some point, our digital library audiobooks will become the norm for our demographic. So in the communities that we already visit, tech help and digital library introductory sessions are always available for you. We'll give your residents, clients, and family members the confidence to get on their devices and get reading. At these sessions, we can also sign folks up for a library card. And lastly, and pretty relevant, I think, to our discussion today, especially what Dr. Josh has talked about, we are growing our memory care library. We've probably all seen some version of the statistics. I'll go through them fast because we've talked a little bit about dementia already. Someone in the world develops dementia every 3 seconds. There were over 55 million people worldwide living with dementia in 2020. That number will almost double every 20 years, reaching 78 million in 2030 and 139 million in 2050. The annual global cost of dementia is now above $1.3 trillion US and is expected to rise to 2.8 trillion by 2030. Direct medical care costs account for about 20%. And direct social sector costs and informal care, which includes family caregivers, those costs each account for roughly 40%. So Library at Home has a growing collection of books expressly for memory-related caregivers. This is part of our shelf here. If your facility or group receives a rotating collection from Library at Home, and you have residents living with any stage of dementia, these books might be a perfect addition to your monthly delivery. Finally, a few years ago, we started to hear whispers about Reminiscence and caregiver kits. They were circulating already in some public library systems. One of our colleagues, Sally Inglet, who 2 of us at Library at Home will be seeing in person next week at our annual conference. She had this to say on the American Library Association website about these kits. Quote, "Libraries are responding to the needs of personal and professional caregivers from both home and facility care environments by providing kits that facilitate meaningful activities. Reminiscence therapy was conceived in the 1960s with the idea that looking back at our lives and recalling, discussing, and interacting with someone in the present is therapeutic. Reminiscence is an activity that anyone can take part in and benefit from. The idea seems simple enough until dementia is added to the mix. Connecting with a person with dementia can be incredibly frustrating, but once you make a connection, it is both rewarding and meaningful." Still quoting Sally, "By recalling positive experiences from the past, we can not only validate their self-worth, but also help people connect using conversation and storytelling about their interests. By doing so, they may find comfort, a release from boredom, and a lift from depression and loneliness." So we know there's a cost associated with resources like these. You all have limited budgets in your activities department, and families dealing with illness and related issues are probably in the same situation. We knew that Library at Home had to make memory kits available for our patrons. And once we decided we were going to go all in. So every item in our kits is designed to spark reminiscence or connection that starts a conversation. We build our kits around a theme like baking, gardening, baseball. We include items that engage every sense: touch, sight, smell, hearing, maybe not taste, although we do include some recipe books. And I know Dr. Josh talked about taste, and he also talked about camping. And believe it or not, we have a camping kit. We didn't tell him this beforehand, but we do. We have a camping kit with forest sounds on CD. We have smells. You can smell s'mores, you can smell pine trees while you are reminiscing about camping. Again, we decided to do this the right way, so you don't just get one shot at connection, you get many, because you never know what might create that spark. I did bring a kit with me today, and because it's October and we are into playoff season, it's the baseball kit. And maybe I'll pass this around, but I'll pull out just one or two things while I'm up here at the podium so you can see. So we have a puzzle in every kit. In every kit, this is a 24-piece puzzle. We always include a caregiver book, this one on Lewy body dementia. We have the DVD. And probably related most to what everyone was talking about with photo reminiscence therapy. This was almost an afterthought. We have in every kit 6 laminated photos, and these are kind of generic but related to the theme. Here we've got a picture of, being seated at the stadium, and you've got a bag of peanuts and probably a beer, but we'll call it a pop. And then on the back, we have prompts. So we can spark discussion. What's your favorite food at the ballpark? What's your least favorite food? Did you have a hat or shirt for your favorite team? And so each kit contains these. And again, you never know where you're going to see that spark. And we have a story that demonstrates that. We debuted our memory kits at our first Great Day Cafe event. It's designed to be a welcoming and engaging space for memory loss patients and their caregivers. And the library is now beginning to offer that program 6 times per year. At this particular event, the first one that we held, a gentleman and his caregiver were looking through our beach kit, which is basically this here. So far, there hadn't been any response to any of the objects that they were looking through. Until eventually they began looking at those laminated photos. One of the photos showed the boardwalk at Ocean City, New Jersey. And the man began to talk about his brother who had lived in Ocean City. His caregiver said it was very rare for him to even speak. And she never expected that kind of response. Now he was talking about his brother and visiting him at the beach. So a really wonderful connection was made there. So the shift that we're taking and the re-energized desire to connect with people, it's also meant looking to others in our library system. Outreach plays a role in all of our libraries, and Library at Home can't keep all of the fun to ourselves, although sometimes we might want to. Our organization has so many talented and dedicated people. Many of them are ready and willing to come and pay you a visit. They can bring crafts, tech help, games, sometimes even food and prizes. Lately, we've been pairing a branch outreach event with our pop-up library service. And those results are a wonderful energy that doesn't always exist at stops where we have lower attendance numbers. We will even make one of our studio guides available for a 3D printing demonstration. I'm not going to go into this too much because we could go on. I hope you all know about the audio reading service. It would take too long to give them all the appropriate kudos and recommendations. If you want to learn more, please go on our website and look them up. Make a visit. You can call the audio reading service and they will show you around. Monica is wonderful. She is the new manager there, and she and her team are there for you. Last but in no way least, Library at Home is developing a closer partnership with the Genealogy Center. And here is Library at Home, the three of us, and the two kind of to the side of me are genealogy employees, and they went down to the Association of Bookmobile and Outreach Services conference, which is held in October every year, to learn about how they can get involved in outreach and possibly look into being mobile. So they would come around to your communities as well. We have much to partner on with genealogy. And one thing I'm particularly interested in, after 7 years of getting to know our patrons, is discovering the best way to tell their stories. And I just have a sample here because I do collect stories from our patrons. This guy, really wonderful guy, and we still take material to him. His name's Carl, and he was in a cover band called the Ravens. Eventually, they became an original band. They won the Battle of the Bands. I can't remember what year back in the 60s, but it was just after the Beatles released one of their first albums. So that is Carl's story, and I would love to archive it somewhere. This is Allison. You might recognize her. Genealogy, in the meantime, they will come out to your facility and give you a presentation on family history or an intro to genealogy. They'd love to do that. I think they'd still love to do that. Is that right? Still? Are you sure? Okay. So with that, I'll leave you back to the man himself, Kurt Witcher, the manager of our genealogy center. And thank you all again for what you do. And as Jack would say, we'll see you around like a donut.